how do we feel about the culture that is being on chain? Like, does it need work? Like, how about we talk about, I guess my question here is, what does culture mean to all of you? Define culture in Web3. How about we do that? Let's talk about that later.
This is a topic. I just wrote a message to Jamie Cornelia on Twitter. Like, I've been to 3 panels and all 3 panels mentioned culture, and I think it's definitely like it can be a buzzword, but I think like at its root, culture is just like the spirit of a community. It's like kind of like the vibe, like the zeitgeist of a community. If we want to go into like the culture of Web3, I think as an overarching, if you think about meme coins, you think about crypto, you think about NFTs, there is a lot of work to do. I think there's a lot of like difficulty, there's a lot of like prejudice, racism, all that kind of stuff. So I would say definitely some work to be done, but there's also like these beautiful communities that come out of Web3 that are like really like genuine people who just care about like decentralization and like kind of decentralizing power, which is like something that I think most of us would agree on. So that's what I would say.
We're 5 years in and we still have work to do.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? Is that not strange to anyone else? That like we're still early?
Oh, I can speak to this a little bit. My name's Jack, everyone. I'm also an artist on chain. I just feel I had to say something because like I think we're still in the R&D phase of blockchain in general. Just because we don't have the user experience that we need, we're barely starting to get to a place where the L2s are a viable place to start building. So I think like the culture can start to evolve once we add more people, because I've been in blockchain long enough to have seen before artists came in, and now that artists are here, it's a different culture. And you may not know that if you've entered this cycle, but if you have been here for multiple cycles, you see like before, because I've been around like Bitcoin long, old, there's no artists, it's all technical, it was very, very, very tough. I didn't even have any interest in blockchain outside of finance until NFTs, until CryptoKitties, until all this stuff started happening. So I think like as the culture has already shifted. Yes, you're starting to see like other things that are like really annoying and all this other stuff that, you know, maybe we don't want to see. But I think as we start to onboard people with these beautiful experiences, easy experiences, the culture will shift because people will start to find their little niches as they start to get more and more on chain. So that's where I think we're still in R&D. We're almost there. L2s are in a good place, but that's my humble opinion as to why the culture still needs work after 5 years. We barely are in a place where we actually can start to invite culture in. Yeah, round table, anyone?
I could debate that. I think it's also about the problems that when you jump into this space, I think it's like a really cool, super open world where you can go and do whatever you want. But I think to look at where we've been in the past, I think we tend to solve or try to solve problems that maybe aren't as relevant. So let's say like a music platform or something like that. If we thought of this problem that is maybe just a worldly problem, and we try to solve that for just average users like this. When the adoption comes, basically, you want to create a world for retention and for people to use the thing. And I think right now it's just like everybody's just doing everything all the time, and I think that's great. But my debate is
well, it speaks to what Benji, you actually posted something a couple days ago about working with artists more, like so that EIPs are less technical. And I think like this is something that us as early adopters, right, we are the ones forging the path forward for the people that we want to see come in. This is something that we can take advantage of and work with the technical people, because we have the opportunity now as people who understand this technology to influence what it's going to look like, and they need our help because they don't know what problems we as creatives have. So it's our job and our opportunity and our privilege to work with technical folks to solve for real problems.
And right back at you, I think when I think of, if I were to say like, what is the super, I'm not like a dictator of super strategy, but like, I think if like my subjective rendition of super strategy for like what it means for culture, what it means for artists, is like one word, and it's enablement. I think artists generally have to kind of fit into the rule sets that they're prescribed. Like you have to be like this, you have to market this way, you have to be in this place to become an artist. And like there's these rule sets that like just the world has. And as I said earlier, like crypto's superpower is that like you don't have to conform to rule sets. You can almost create your own, experiment within your own. And yes, some of them will fail. like, man, it's cool that we can do it, you know, like, and I think when we look at the history of crypto and why it's taken some time for this, it's like, past 5 years, past like 10 years or so, it's been a group of people making something, right? It's like the Bitcoin people making the Bitcoin chain, like Ethereum, and it's like, artists are like going onto that, but then you kind of have to conform to like some degree of like whatever that existing culture is, and their language and all that. So I'm really excited for this Superchain, because like, we're enabling the creation of novel like subcultures, novel chains that like are powered by all the work that technical folks have created, that can now be like narrated and dictated and like kind of like culturally informed by the people who are going to be using it for their specific use case. I think that is very, very exciting for me. I'm seeing like more and more chains launch that are specifically like, focused on artists. On the Superchain we have Zora, of course, we have Shape that's coming out, and a couple others as well. So it's like, it's encouraging to see that there's like ability for us, and if we coordinate, and it's like, we gotta do it together, and we gotta figure that out. I don't think we're there yet. But we gotta try to like see how can we listen to each other, there's so much complementary stuff here. I like to think like, for me, my motivation to be in this space is actually because like, I speak to some of the protocol folks, and it's philosophy. It's like, when I ask someone who's been building on Bitcoin, or like building on like Ethereum for so long, I'm like, why are you still here? And they're like, because I believe. And I believe in this as like a philosophical movement. And the only, like the other part of this space that I actually think is like very resonant and actually like the same motivations, it's almost like you guys say the same thing, is artists. Like protocol folks who've been building that long, and artists have very similar opinions, but it's just not been connected yet. I think we have an opportunity to do that. And I think we need to do that for this to actually be like something the world can use.
Is there a chain on the Superchain that provides artist royalties?
So I don't know what.
On-chain royalties?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They take
Yes.
creator fee and then they give it back. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe Shape is also trying to do the same.
When it comes to culture, I'm like, man, I feel like this is the buzzword of this year. We had community last year. This year we got culture. Man, I sure wish I had a nickel every time. Golly. But we see how important it is. And so what I'm excited about and what I hope to see more of is that value being brought towards the people of culture who are bringing the culture to the Superchain.
Yes.
And it valued as much as the developers who are building out the Superchain, because ultimately the culture, the creators, the builders, the people who are taking the time to sit with folks one-on-one to share how this technology has changed their lives are going to be the ones to onboard the millions, the masses, whatever the goal is now. But and for the creators and artists, like these are tools for us, you know, like we're able to explore more sustainable models for our livelihoods. And so we're going to be here regardless of what the market is doing, or up, down, it don't matter, bull market, bear market, goat market, whatever. Exploring the tools, telling our friends about them, sharing how they're impacting our lives, and that's ultimately is what's going to get other people here, and actually carrying the storytelling is what's going to make people care about what is being built here and why it's important. They're not going to care about the GPUs or the GUI or the whatever, gigabyte or I don't know. I was in companies. They ain't gonna care about that shit, man. They're gonna care about like how has this helped you and how could it maybe help me one day. And so I'm excited. I feel like we're entering that part of this, I don't know, evolution, I guess, of this on-chain ecosystem that's being built, of like seeing the value of what storytelling and like creators, like there's just this beautiful opportunity for like a real valued collaboration and partnership to be happening. And while I think the intention is there, I don't see the value being matched and reciprocated in terms of, let's be honest, resources and economic value. So that's how I feel about culture.
Raven said a lot of what I was thinking. I think one point I would just add is that like, while we focus on like trying to onboard the masses to this ecosystem that has such potential, I think we have to like, Vitalik posted this article that was like, make crypto cypherpunk again.
Yes.
Where he really talked about like the origins of crypto and like decentralization and like why we're doing this. And like, I think oftentimes we can get lost in the sauce and like, how do we grow as much as possible and forget like, the whole point of this is like decentralization and like not having power all in the hands of like a few. So I think we just have to really focus on like, how do we keep the same spirit and like origins of crypto while we like also have this new goal of like trying to onboard the masses to this space. So
I have a really good Mirror article on the origins of crypto if you want a TLDR of where all of these principles come from. So hit me up afterwards, I'll share my article. So it's written in regular plain English if you want to know the origins of crypto principles.
Something about the space that frustrates me, but it's also fascinating, is the term, the space. I think that here's how I look at it. In a way, Web3 is creating a box.
yeah,
And if you're not in that box, then you aren't cool.
yeah,
How do you expect to onboard the masses if you keep calling it this space, and if
Yeah.
you're not in this space,
yeah,
you don't get it? And I think that it all kind of comes back to culture and trying to understand what that really means.
yeah,
And I also want to know, like, I'm ready for somebody to shift the narrative, like actually shift it, because no one has done that yet. And I'm wondering, like, what is the Superchain going to do to truly make people feel welcomed into this box that we have created? We're creating issues out of thin air when there are already things happening in the real world. So you come into Web3 and there are problems that really, like you said, focusing on stuff that does not matter, when we're actually already dealing with struggles in the real world. All of those struggles we should be solving for, no one is doing that. Instead, we're creating more problems to solve for, and now everyone's frustrated. The price goes down, everybody freaks out, everybody feels like their world is ending. What can we do to make that better? How can we kind of create an ecosystem where people will feel safe to come in and not feel like, if I become engulfed in this, it isn't going to completely ruin my life. Like, I want change. I don't want to come into it and like kind of box myself into another world that is just as dystopian as what I'm already dealing with IRL.